kind of spent most of the time here talking about the Pistons, who were able to hang on despite all the heroic efforts from the Denver Nuggets last night, and they had the chance to tie it up with 3 free throws with literal zeros on the clock. They missed the middle free throw and thus lost their opportunity to win it, but the Pistons held on, and now we're talking about trade possibilities.
So it was another great game from Tobias Harris,
yeah.
and he's really seems to be trying to I don't know if he's trying to make a case, but it feels like a case is being made to keep the guy. And people are, you can fall in love with your own players. You don't want to do something for sentimental reasons. I'm never in favor of that. But there is a leadership element here that he brings to the table that seems to be standing out and getting a lot of love from the Pistons themselves. 248-539-9797. Just intrigued to know if anybody's moved off the trade Tobias stance and just said, look, the way this team is playing right now, a risk is changing the dynamics in the locker room. And I don't think there's any the case is made for Tobias all the time that his impact on this team goes above and beyond what he does on the court. And if you mess with that, it could have a negative impact. Now you can't be scared either. Like you shouldn't be scared to make moves, and tough decisions need to be made. But at the end of the day, these are decisions that Trajan Langdon's going to need to make. And hey, these aren't easy ones to make. It comes down to, have you not seen a trade rumor yet where you'd say, yes, I'd trade him for that? Have you gotten to the point where you're like, no, I don't want Michael Porter Jr. that bad, and I don't want Trey Murphy that bad, or anybody else? You just haven't seen that trade rumor where you'd pull the trigger yet. 248-539-9797. Love to take your Wolverines and Spartan calls. We got some thoughts on those games we'll get to at 11 o'clock. Also, the Red Wings, they are in the midst of their name shows up all over the place with trade rumors. We got a Clarence in Detroit. You're next on 97.1. Hello, Clarence.
Hey, how's it going, brother?
We're good.
Man, I'm kind of disappointed in my city, man. I'm glad a lot of these people aren't general managers. We'd be back in the Joe Dumars post-04 days. I haven't seen anything that I accept in exchange for Tobias Harris, partially because that $20+ million contract for what the caliber of player we would get at that number doesn't make sense for the style of basketball that we play and what Tobias brings to a team outside of the high IQ decisions he makes. Michael Porter Jr. makes no sense because he's a cone on defense. He doesn't make high IQ plays on offense. Once the ball gets to him, it stops moving, it goes up. So we lose a lot just in that. Any player I would look to would almost be like we're getting a younger version of Tobias, like a DeAndre Hunter. They're saying he wants out of Cleveland, but statistically in this style of play, he plays hard on defense, but his IQ on offense isn't as high. So just nothing makes sense to me. And Kyrie Irving, mentioning him is just, guys got to really watch hoop or play basketball or something. And just that opinion is insane to me. Anthony Davis is insane to me. Why are we buying other people's issues?
What about Jaren Jackson Jr.?
He can't shoot. Why are we giving up shooting when we're saying we need shooting?
Well, you get great defense out of it, and he's not. I don't think he's as bad as you think he is as a shooter.
I like that because we do. When JD goes to the bench, we lose size. I like that there, but I don't think I'm willing to give up Tobias for him. I would be willing to give up Ivy before anybody because he doesn't. It seems like he needs to reset. It almost looks like he's lost a lot of his confidence that he showed us last year. I think he needs a fresh start.
Hey, thank you for the phone call, Clarence. I'm a little afraid we're being prisoner of the moment too, because Tobias has put together a string of some really good games, and if he drops a 1 for 10 and a 2 for 15 in the next week,
Correct.
I can see this being got to move him right. So we got to be careful with that. But again, there might be a skill set that you want so bad in terms of shooting, essentially.
Well, and Jaren Jackson Jr. is actually a better shooter from 3-point than Tobias. So, I mean, there is that. He is a defensive stud, and he's more.
How old is he?
Jaren Jackson Jr.?
Yeah.
I think he's like
not that old,
26
right?
or something.
Yeah. And does he have term?
26.
Or is he a free agent? I know I've looked this up before, and I basically forgot. But 248-539-9797, as we do look that up. Brian's in Detroit and next. Hello, Brian.
Hey, y'all. Hey, I just want to say, man, I value that turnaround jumper that Tobias has, man. I think that'll be a game-winner shot that can get us a playoff win or a championship win. I think that, and his leadership. And then I want to know, what is it that the Piston fans think that we need exactly to get to that next hustle?
Another shooter.
3-point shooter?
Yep, another shooter.
Another shooter.
Yep.
So I don't think that you can bring in a 3-point shooter that will take precedence over what Tobias offered.
I mean, what you'd be giving up is some intangibles and probably some size, but at the end of the day, are you getting back and some defense? Are you getting back a player that makes up for it in their ability to another player that can stretch a defense and provide another score next to Cade?
Yeah, I think that's the goal unknown, but also I seen Jaden Ivey at the last game. And he was not in tune with the team while the team was over there doing their huddle. I went to the game where they played Houston Rockets, and he was just away from the team doing shoot-arounds, and he was not talking to them or anything but until they did the breakdown. And I thought that was pretty weird.
Yeah, the Jaden Ivey thing, I've noticed that we've gotten more calls and texts about this. It feels like if Jaden Ivey scratches his nose, people are reading into it. And I get why, because he doesn't look like the same guy. Is he disillusioned at all? I don't hear anything about that, but there's a lot of people reading a lot of body language when it comes to Jaden Ivey these days.
Yeah. Thanks, fellas.
Appreciate the phone call.
Jaren Jackson Jr. is a massive contract still.
Yeah.
He'll get paid basically $50 million a year for the next 3 years. It might be a 4-year with an option at the 29-30 season. But it's a big contract, but he's a big player. He's a 20-point-a-game guy, plays defense. And it's the defense part that I latch on to, because everybody else you talk about, well, he's a shooter, but can he play defense? This team is successful in large part because of their willingness to play defense. Adding another one, if you don't have to subtract Duren, would be big. And some teams just want to get rid of salary. They want to start over. They think the guy they have is not the right guy to build around. And maybe this is that case, what they have in Memphis. I mean, they're moving on from Ja Morant. Are they going to be willing to move on from Jaren Jackson Jr. is another question.
I mean, he's a better player than Tobias Harris. He just is. He's younger. He obviously can score. He's a stretch 4-5, whatever you want to call it. I think the caller said he's not a good shooter. He's a much better shooter than Tobias Harris from 3. And I want to save this segment, Doug, and I feel like everyone is definitely a prisoner of the moment right now. Recency bias, everything. Like, Tobias is playing good and they're winning. I get it, man. It's really hard to trade a guy when everything's going right? Mm-hmm. That's where the tough decisions are made. Like, to put you over the top, you're going to have to make tough decisions like this. And I honestly think, and they still need 3-point shooting and a true secondary scorer. They don't have that right now. If Duncan Robinson's off, and by the way, the whole team was off from 3-point last night, they had to struggle to win that game against the Nuggets team that didn't have anyone playing for them.
248-539-9797. Feedback coming in. My biggest takeaway as a Michigan fan who watched that game is that they are not as dominant and are more flawed than I thought. If that game was in Nebraska, I fear they lose, but I'm glad they fought it out and won. Well, there's a whole bunch of ifs that you could provide to that Michigan game that they could have lost that game. When they were beating ranked teams by 40 earlier in the year, there's a reason why we say seasons are long, because there are ebbs and flows. You know that feeling you get when your team, like Purdue's going through it right now. Purdue is really good. They've lost 3 in a row. And when you get in these losing streaks, you feel like you're never going to win again. When you get a hot streak, you feel like you're never going to lose again. You know, when Michigan smoked, Villanova or Gonzaga or those teams, you might have been getting those teams at a time where they weren't playing well, and it can overinflate your opinion of yourself. And so you got to let things play out. The other thing is you run into buzzsaws. In college basketball, I watched a Washington-Indiana game a few weeks ago, and they were both white hot to start the game, and they're just draining threes and 45-40 at the half or something like that. And quite frankly, that's what they ran into in Wisconsin. Wisconsin was white hot, beat them. And Nebraska was for a half. But Michigan got a big break in that game. a big break, and we'll get to that in a minute. But,
I mean, the other thing is this. Nebraska's pretty good.
yes, they are.
I mean,
Yep.
I recognize people just think your team's invincible, not yours and University of Michigan. Everybody's going to talk about their team and think we're invincible. We should win every game, and when we don't, they got to find reasons. Well, it's this or this. Nebraska's really freaking good.
They are.
They're really freaking good, and they might make a run in the tournament. I mean, they were 20-0 going into last night, and they looked like a team that was legitimate 20-0 going into hostile territory and almost knocking off the Wolverines.
248-539-9797. Again, we'll get to Michigan and Michigan State talk at 11 a.m. If you're a Spartan or Wolverine fan, love to hear from you here on Karsch and Anderson 97.1.